So we'll go ahead and get started. Bring it down on the ground. We're going to start in a high plank position. So spread those fingers out nice and wide, actively pushing those arms down into the ground. We're going to try to create length through those arms, and then from the top of the head to the tip of the heel, create length that way as well. So 2 planes here. Pulling those abs in nice and tight, creating some tension in the middle of our body. Then want to think about kind of pulling your knees up off the ground, so you should get those hamstrings, those quads involved. And then squeezing those glutes together so we have tension through that entire body. So we're going to hold here for another 5 seconds, pretty much just squeezing everything in that body. And we'll relax. I'm going to go one more time, up. We're going to spread those fingers out again, driving those arms into the ground, lifting that chest away from the ground. Heels push away, kneecaps up, squeeze those glutes. Pulling everything nice and tight. All the tension for 5, 3, 2, 1, and down. All right, we're going to start mobilizing those shoulders a little bit. We're going to stay back up in that plank position, but this time we're just going to lift those hips, pushing back into a pike or a down dog. Think about reaching that chest towards your toes. Spacing those shoulders, pulling back into plank, pushing back again into pike. We go 2 more times into plank, push it back, and last time plank, back into that pike. We'll go ahead and lower that back down. All right, we're going to stand it up. We're going to work on our hips. So we're going to push those hips back into a nice good hip hinge. We want to create length through those hamstrings. I want to think about it just like a door hinge, right? So our upper body and our lower body are 2 halves here, and this is our pivot point right at the hips. So that upper half is going to stay nice and stiff, no additional hinges. Same thing with that lower half. So where the knees are and where that middle back, we want to stay nice and strong on those 2 points. So think about it, keep driving those hips back. You should feel a nice good stretch through those hamstrings. And we're going to pull those hips forward, squeeze those glutes at the top to kind of realign ourselves from in a standing position. So reverse that, pushing those hips back once more. Trying to get a good big stretch. Maybe you find that chest lowering towards the ground just a touch more each rep. Bring those hips in. Again, active squeeze of those glutes at the top. Hips go back. Go 2 more here. Length through those hamstrings. Drive it up. Big squeeze. And last time, stretch those hammies. And drive those hips in, squeezing those glutes. And relax. All right, a little bit more shoulders in terms of our scaps. We're going to do some scapular retractions. We will be focusing a bit on the back half of our body today. So we're going to start off in that hip hinge, which we just did. Those arms are going to hang straight down. We're just going to work on pulling those scapula together. So those elbows stay nice and long, arms are nice and long. Squeeze those scapula together and release. So pull and squeeze those shoulder blades. And release. So notice those shoulders are not coming up towards those ears. They're staying nice and horizontal as opposed to here. Alright, just pulling straight back like you're trying to pick something up without moving anything but your shoulders. We're going to get a couple more here. We'll just focus on kind of isolating that middle back. That is going to be the kind of originator of any pull movement that we do, is those scapula. Let's go one more time, up and squeeze, hold, 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 and relax. All right. So that's kind of our mobilization. So talking about some activation, getting those hips moving a little bit different plane. My favorite, the Cossack squat. So we're going to take our stance out nice and wide. We're just going to shift those hips over to one side, feel a nice good stretch to the inside of that leg. We'll stand it back up and shift it over to the other. So we'll go back and forth, kind of almost like some stationary lunges, lateral lunges. We're just going to kind of feel those hips open up a little bit. Maybe we're sinking down a little bit more each time, wherever you're at. Just looking to stretch those hips that don't get too much action. And then what we can do is, instead of coming up, we can take that down and just work to slide across. Once we kind of have that initial mobility in there, feeling that depth, then we can stay in. Ooh, it just got real dark. Then we can stay in that depth and just work a little bit more dynamically through that range. Really pushing off that foot, leaning into that other leg. Good way to get those quads engaged as well. We got about 2 more here each way. Just really trying to open those hips, using those knees, kind of lead. One more, finish this up, and relax. All right, I'm gonna go back down to the ground. We're gonna get in a glute bridge position, so the feet are gonna be flat on the ground. We're gonna slowly draw those hips up. We're gonna squeeze at the top. Those arms are going to come straight out across like a T. I'm going to bring my right hand up. I'm going to throw that across and reach towards my left hand while keeping that bridge active. I'm going to pull that back all the way across and follow through with that left hand, reaching all the way across. We're going to come back to center and lower those hips. We're going to do that a couple more times. I'll slowly lift those hips up. Get that glute squeeze at the top. My right hand's going to roll all the way across to the left. Good way to get some thoracic mobility in here as well with that rotation. Then pulling across, keep those hips high. Left hand follows. Coming back and lower it down. 2 more times. Lift it high. I don't know if I said 2 last time, but we're going to do 4 total. And just kind of feeling what that top half is doing. Bottom half is working though. Keeping those hips up in that bridge nice and active. 1 more time. Big drive up. All this midriff going on. Reaching across. Actively reaching as far as we can. And back across. And we'll bring it down. All right. So, game plan to today, we are going to kind of separate our body, front half and back half. All right, so we're going to be working the back side first. So we're going to work on our upper back, glutes, and hamstrings. And front half, we're going to be working on our chest, abdomen, and those quads. All right, so we'll start with the back half first. Just another fun way to split up the body. Usually we do upper, lower. Sometimes we do push and pull. We're going to do front and back. So 3 movements to work on. So we have our IYTs, or glute bridges, and some RDL. So we'll start kind of going one at a time here. So these IYTs, we've kind of warmed these up already. So we're going to start with that hip hinge. All right, a sneaky little hamstring stretch while we work that back. Arms are straight out, so remember that scapular retraction, pulling those shoulder blades back. Then leading with our thumbs, we're going to lift those arms straight up overhead. This is our I position. We're going to bring those arms back down. We're going to unlock those shoulder blades. We're going to pull those shoulder blades back up, leading with those thumbs coming into a Y position, 45 degrees each way. Squeeze at the top, lower those arms, lower those shoulder blades. Then we're going to rotate those thumbs all the way out. I don't know how much you can see that. All the way out. Pull those shoulder blades back and lifting out into a T. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Back down, back down. All right. We're going to kind of continue with this at your own pace. All right. Making sure first we're getting those shoulder blades pulled back and then moving those arms, squeezing at the top, lowering those arms in control, lowering those shoulder blades. So moving through IYT, we're going to do 3 of each here in a good, nice, slow tempo Again, we're looking for control of those shoulder blades. Still got those hamstrings all stretched out. Good stabilization exercise for that low back as well, holding in this position. Good stabilization exercise for your thumbs, right? If you're really good at motivating people, you're just like here a lot, this is good practice. Last time on T. And we'll relax there. Alright, so again, may feel some tension through that low back. That's okay. That is a stabilizer group in that hinge over position. So just kind of like holding a plank or holding like a hollow body. Those abs get worked in the same way. Where they're just kind of holding that position. That's the way your low back is working in that hinge just to hold that hinged position. Alright, glute bridges, not going to do anything too fancy with these. Alright, putting those feet flat on the ground, just drawing those hips up. What we're looking for, primarily we're focusing on the glutes. Alright, so we don't necessarily need to lift those hips up as high as humanly possible, but I just want you to focus on squeezing those glutes. Alright, using those glutes to squeeze the entire time all the way up. I came across a cue that is a little bit different, so think about when we're lifting up, or I guess this whole movement, that you have a big strip of Velcro on your back from the base of your neck to your hips. All right, when you come up, think about you're slowly peeling that Velcro up. And then when you're coming down, you're slowly pressing that Velcro back down. All right, so it's kind of like almost like a roll up. Squeeze at the top still and rolling back down. I find you kind of get a little bit more hip control, a little bit more glute activation in there. We're going to go one more time for good measure. Pulling it up, squeezing at the top, and driving it back down. All right, we'll stand it up to our feet. Definitely feel those glutes on that one. All right, we're going to move to our hamstrings. The best way that we know how are those Romanian deadlifts, those stiff leg deadlifts. All right, so we're going to plant one leg down. If balance is off, we can keep that toe tucked or tapped down. Otherwise, we are hinging and reaching that foot back. Good stretch to that hamstring and pulling that leg back to standing. So we're going to go 8 each side here, finding that balance and pulling it back down. Just like that hip hinge, this is exactly the same exercise, but we're just focused on putting all that weight into a single leg as opposed to both legs together. This puts a little bit more resistance if we don't have any external weights, any dumbbells, kettlebells, barbells, anything like that. Bag of rice, a dog. There we go. So notice that back leg is kicking towards that back wall, trying to get fully extended. Once you get your 8, flipping over to the other leg. Finding that balance. Boom. Good way to practice that balance and coordination is to try to stay on that single leg that whole time through that whole set. Alright, certainly touch down if we need to. And again, if the balance isn't quite there today, that's totally fine. We can keep that toe tap down and pretty much do the same exercise. Just keeping all that weight on that single leg of that working leg. Kind of like you're looking over a cliff. Putting all that weight in that single hamstring and driving it back through. Let me finish my last rep here. And boom. Alright. So we're going to go one more time through those 3 movements as we finish up our backside. You can put as much emphasis in these as you need to. As always, it's your workout. So we'll get that hinge active. Stretch those hamstrings that we just worked on, starting with those IYTs. Alright, nice thumbs up. Shoulder blades first, and then into that movement. If you're like me, you certainly feel a little bit more mobility in those shoulders the second time through. Able to get that overhead position a little bit more comfortably. Really important that we squeeze the top hold that top position. We're going to emphasize that range of motion, how important that is. A lot of times if we rush through a movement, we kind of skip over that control, which can certainly lead to injuries, but certainly a reduced performance as well. Right, the more aspects of movement we can control, right, the better mastery we have over it. The more we can make those small adjustments and gain strength in each area of that. I don't know if that was 2 or 3, but we'll do one more for good luck. It's our last time around. So remember, pulling those shoulder blades together and then lift those arms, lower those arms, and then unlock those shoulder blades. Last time here. All right, we'll drop down to the ground for those glute bridges. So again, think about that Velcro here, driving through the ground, lifting those hips, big squeeze in those glutes. Roll that Velcro back down, pressing each vertebrae at a time. Notice how much, again, keyword today is control. All right, we're not just pumping these reps out, we're being very, very intentional of where that top and bottom positions are. We're not overextending ourselves. Again, not trying to drive those hips to the sky, but more focused on just being able to get as much glute recruitment as we can and keep those as the driving force for this lift. We're going to go 2 more here. Always those holds. It's a good way to really focus on what we're doing. All right. Hop up, max those RDLs. 8 each leg to finish this one up. As we finish our back side here, you can feel that from the middle of the back all the way down through those glutes and hamstrings. They are working for sure. And creating length, always helpful to think about top of your head to your heel. I'd like to say head to heel, strong as steel. So think about there's one rod connecting those 2 pieces, and they will move all together on that hinge of your hip. Also on the side. All right, we'll flip it over. Go into that other leg. Always trying to move as a unit. So only one point of articulation on this movement being that hip of the down leg. We're trying to stay nice and solid on that base. Making sure that back's not rounding, right? Not folding in that abdomen. Keeping that core nice and tight through the whole range here. We go 2 more to the side. Still in control of our tempo. No rush today. Just all that control. All right. So that finishes up our back side. Let's talk about our front side. We got push-ups. We're going to do some V-sits and some split squats. So push-ups are push-ups. Not going to try to over-explain these. We're going to do 2 rounds of these. First round, we're going to do a little bit more traditional push-ups. Second round, we'll mix up our grip a little bit. So on our push-ups, we're just going to look to get 6 good tempo push-ups. So what that's going to look like is that we're going to slowly lower in control, pause at the bottom, pressing up with that same tempo. So on the way down, 2 or 3 seconds wherever you are, hold for a second or 2, another 2 or 3 seconds up. Just learning how to engage each part of that push-up from that chest to the abdomen, through the triceps. And feel those legs even come into play. Staying extended. Go one more here. All right. Then we're just going to flip that over. We're just going to do a nice little 20-second V-sit hold. A couple ways to do this. We can go legs extended, right? We can do legs bent, arms out, either way. Pick a position, whatever's most comfortable for you, or whatever's most challenging, not necessarily comfortable. Challenging. We're going to go 20-second hold. Just trying to get those abs involved, pulling that belly button into that spine. You can get those, again, legs extended or bent a little bit. We're going to hold here another 5 seconds. We're at 3, 2, 1, and relax. All right, split squats. What we're looking for, again, some quad work. So we're going to get kind of like a split stance, like a lunge position. We're going to focus on drawing that back knee down towards the ground. In the bottom of our position, you should feel that front quad loaded. All right, and we're going to push through that front foot to bring us back to standing. I'm going to get to where this knee is just about locked out, but not fully locked out. All right, it's still extended, but not locked out. I'm just going to draw it back down. All right, so kind of same thing with those push-ups. I want to focus on a good 2-3 second descent, 2 second or so hold at the bottom, 2-3 second ascent. I'm just going to go about 5 or 6 reps each time. We're getting a little tight on time. One more this side. And switching to the other leg. The more emphasis, the more weight you can put in that front foot, the more we can get that quad engaged. All right, think about if we're splitting that weight between our 2 feet, if our weight is shifted backwards, right, then we're getting a lot in that back leg as well. But think about this almost like a modified single leg squat. Keeping tension in that front quad. We go one more on this front foot, on this left side. And we'll bring it back around. About 2 minutes left. We'll run through all 3 of these one last time. Push-ups, not going to change this time. We're just going to stick with the same thing, just focusing on that control. Slowly lower, 2-3 seconds. Hold for 1 to 2. 2-3 seconds on the way up. Try to get those pointer fingers going straight forward, right? Not turned in towards each other. They're pointing straight ahead. Try to keep space between that body and the ground at the bottom of our push-up. One more here. And we'll relax. Check that out. We'll flip it over for our V-sit, another 20 seconds. Let's go ahead and get up. And 3, 2, 1. 20-second hold. All right, being in control. Feel those quads if you want to work on that control of squeezing each group. Work on squeezing those quads. Extend those legs. Stay nice and strong. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and relax. We'll hop it up to our feet. We'll finish up with our split squats. Whichever leg you like to go first. Shift that weight forward. Lower that back knee. Hold at the bottom. Slowly drive it up. A lot of times we think about just moving quickly through those rounds to increase that intensity, but sometimes taking it more slowly and keeping that muscle under tension. You're actually working longer, kind of taking the momentum out of it, so you have to be in complete control of generating that energy to change positions. You can't just rely on the carrier momentum. We're switching over to that other leg. Finish up our last 5 to 6 reps. Yeah, a little hold at the top and bottom, just taking away that momentum. Slowly moving through that range. 2 more on this side. And last one. All right. So that's going to do it for Performance Basics, not just today, but for foreseeable future. Again, we may bring it back. Let us know if you want to see it. But for now, that is it for here. If you want to jump over to abs class, that's starting in just a couple minutes. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.